What you are about to hear is the story of a pirate captain and a noblewoman whose forbidden love defied the stormy seas and the perils of their worlds. Their passion, born from a clash of wills, would either lead them to freedom or tear them apart forever. The salt-laden winds whip across the deck of the merchant ship Seabird as it sails through the Caribbean. Below deck, noblewoman Lady Isabella Ravenscroft reads in the quiet of her cabin, unaware of the storm that is about to break not of nature, but of men. Suddenly, there are shouts, the clash of steel, and the unmistakable sounds of a raid. Her heart skips, her mind racing to make sense of the chaos above. It's only when she hears the chilling battle cry of the pirate crew that reality crashes over her. They're being attacked, and there is nowhere to hide. Up on the deck, Captain Elias the Storm Blackthorn strides through the smoke and screams, his reputation as one of the most ruthless pirate captains preceding him. Known for his relentlessness and cunning, he's become a figure of dread among the Caribbean islands. His cold, calculating gaze sweeps over the frightened crew and passengers, his menacing presence alone enough to force most into submission. But as his eyes fall upon a young woman standing tall amid the chaos, he's taken aback. She isn't cowering or begging like the others. She's looking directly at him, her eyes bright with a mix of defiance and fear. Isabella feels the weight of his gaze on her, but she refuses to look away. Her upbringing as a noble has taught her to stand her ground, even in the face of terror. She clutches her shawl tightly around her shoulders, hiding her trembling hands. She's heard of pirates, of course, but never did she imagine herself in such close proximity to one, especially not a man like Elias, with his dark, intense eyes and commanding presence. She knows she should feel nothing but horror, but there's something about him that stirs a strange fascination within her. Elias, too, finds himself caught off guard by this woman, whose defiance is a spark amidst the usual cries of fear. Without a word, he motions to his men, and within moments Isabella is pulled forward, her belongings stripped away as she's taken prisoner. Her heart pounds with fear and anger. She's never been treated with such disrespect, and the humiliation gnaws at her. But when she's brought to the main deck and forced to face the pirate captain again, she lifts her chin defiantly, unwilling to show any weakness. "Do you know who I am?" she asks, her voice steady despite the turmoil inside her. Elias raises an eyebrow, a faint smirk touching his lips. "It doesn't matter who you are here, love," he replies with a hint of mockery. "Out here, on the Tempest's fury, you belong to the sea." She narrows her eyes, fury burning in her chest. "My family will come for me," she warns. "You'll pay for this." "Will I?" he says, his tone indifferent. But as he studies her face, something flickers in his expression, a hint of intrigue, perhaps. She's different from the others he's encountered, her noble blood evident in every line of her posture, yet there's a fire in her, a boldness that challenges him. We'll see if they care to bargain with pirates. As the Tempest's fury sails away from the plundered merchant ship, Isabella is taken below deck to the cramped quarters reserved for captives. Her mind races, grappling with the reality of her situation. She is completely at their mercy, surrounded by men who see her as nothing more than a prize. The weight of her helplessness presses down on her, yet she clings to a spark of hope. Her family must already be aware of her capture, and surely they'll pay any ransom to bring her home. Days pass, and Isabella's life aboard the pirate ship settles into a strange rhythm. She notices the routines of the crew, the rough camaraderie, and even the silent respect they seem to have for their captain. She catches glimpses of Elias Blackthorn from afar, watching him command his crew with a mixture of fear and loyalty. She tries to convince herself he is nothing more than a ruthless pirate, a man driven by greed and violence. Yet, she cannot ignore the moments when she catches his gaze lingering on her, or the way his presence stirs something unsettling within her. One evening, after a particularly brutal storm, Isabella finds herself alone on deck, seeking fresh air to clear her mind. The sun dips below the horizon, casting a golden glow over the churning sea. She's lost in thought when she hears footsteps behind her. Turning, she finds Elias standing there, his face shadowed but his gaze unwavering. "You shouldn't be up here alone," he says, his voice low and almost gentle. Isabella raises her chin, meeting his eyes with defiance. "I have every right to be where I choose." He chuckles, clearly amused by her stubbornness. "You're not exactly in a position to demand rights, Lady Ravenscroft." She bristles at his words but remains silent, her gaze fixed on the horizon. He steps closer, his eyes studying her as if trying to unravel her secrets. "Why aren't you begging for mercy like the others?" he asks, genuine curiosity in his tone. She hesitates, unsure of how to answer. "Because I refuse to give you the satisfaction," she says finally, her voice barely above a whisper. For a moment, they stand in silence, the tension between them palpable. She can feel the weight of his gaze, searching, probing, as if he's trying to see past her defiance. But then, to her surprise, he speaks softly, his words laced with a hint of vulnerability she didn't expect. "You think I enjoy this life?" he murmurs, more to himself than to her. "It's not freedom. It's survival." His words catch her off guard, stirring something within her. She glimpses a man trapped by his choices, much like she feels trapped by the expectations of her family and society. In that shared moment of unspoken understanding, something shifts between them. She sees him not as the monster she believed him to be, but as a man shaped by pain, betrayal, and regret. From that evening on, their encounters change. They become more frequent, and though they exchange few words, the looks they share convey a deeper connection, an understanding born from shared burdens. Isabella begins to see Elias in a new light, drawn to the intensity of his spirit, the resilience that keeps him afloat in the harsh world of piracy. And Elias, though he tries to resist, finds himself captivated by her strength and grace, the fire that refuses to be quenched even in captivity. As they sail further from her home and deeper into pirate-infested waters, Isabella's fear slowly fades, replaced by a conflicted longing that unsettles her. She knows she should hate him, that her place is back in the life she was born into, but the allure of the sea, the wild freedom it promises, and the forbidden attraction to the pirate captain begins to blur the lines of right and wrong. The crew, however, grows suspicious, noting the silent exchanges between their captain and the captive noblewoman. Murmurs circulate, casting shadows over their interactions. Some see it as weakness in Elias, others as a betrayal of their ruthless code. Isabella and Elias both know that their secret connection is dangerous, that any hint of softness could spell disaster for them both. Yet, they cannot help themselves. In the quiet hours of the night, they meet under the open sky, sharing fleeting moments stolen from a world that would never understand them. Their bond is unspoken but undeniable, a fire kindled by danger and stoked by the knowledge that, at any moment, it could all be ripped away. The first spark of forbidden love blooms amidst the unforgiving world of piracy, but they both know the trials that lie ahead will test the strength of their bond and force them to confront the cost of following their hearts. As the tempest's fury cuts through the waves, days turn into weeks, and the fragile connection between Isabella and Elias deepens, like roots stretching through rocky soil. Their Their stolen glances become fleeting touches, a brush of his hand against hers as he passes, a momentary pause when their eyes meet across the deck. They are both aware of the danger. In the ruthless world of piracy, trust is scarce, and rumors spread like wildfire. The crew, ever watchful, grows uneasy. Whispers circulate below deck, questioning the captain's loyalty and judgment. Isabella is no longer just a valuable captive, but a risk, a distraction that, to some, threatens the crew's code and unity. Among the grumbling voices is first mate Garrick, Elias' oldest friend and closest confidant. Once, Garrick believed Elias to be a captain of indomitable strength, but now he sees hesitation and distraction. The crew looks to Garrick for answers, and he realizes he must confront his captain before the ship erupts into mutiny. Late one night, as the moonlight casts long shadows over the deck, Garrick finds Elias staring out at the dark expanse of ocean. With a quiet intensity, he speaks, his voice edged with disappointment and concern. "You've changed, Elias." The crew sees it. They see her softening you, pulling you from your purpose. Elias bristles, anger sparking in his eyes, but beneath the anger lies doubt, a flicker of guilt that he can't ignore. He knows Garrick is right. Isabella's presence has shifted something within him. For the first time, he's questioning the life he's chosen, the violence he's become known for. But he refuses to show weakness. "She's nothing to me," he insists, his words hollow even to his own ears. "Is she?" Garrick challenges, his voice low and dangerous. "Because the crew doesn't think so. They think you're putting all of us at risk for the sake of some noblewoman who would see us all hanged if given the chance." Elias clenches his fists, his mind torn between loyalty to his crew and his growing feelings for Isabella. He knows he must make a choice, but the thought of turning his back on her feels like a betrayal of something he cannot name, a piece of himself he thought long buried. Reluctantly, he nods, acknowledging the truth in Garrick's words. "I'll keep my distance," he promises, though the words feel like ash in his mouth. Meanwhile, Isabella senses the shift in Elias. He becomes colder, more distant, barely looking at her when they cross paths. She tries to tell herself it doesn't matter, that she should be grateful for the distance, yet her heart aches with each passing day. Their connection, brief as it was, had given her a glimpse of something more, a passion and freedom she had never known in her sheltered life. And now, just as swiftly as it had come, it seems to be slipping away. Desperate to understand, Isabella confronts Elias one night, catching him alone on deck. She demands answers, her voice trembling with both anger and vulnerability. "Why are you pushing me away? Was it all a game to you? To make a fool of me and remind me of my place?" Elias looks at her, torn between his desire to protect her and the pull of his duty. "You don't understand, Isabella," he says quietly, his voice rough with suppressed emotion. "This life, it's not for you. It's dangerous. I can't afford to be weak. Not for you, not for anyone." Isabella's eyes flash with anger. "Weak? Is that what you think this is? A weakness?" She steps closer, her voice softening. "I don't care about the danger, Elias. I'd rather face it than go back to a life of gilded cages and empty promises." For a moment, Elias falters, his hardened exterior cracking. But before he can respond, the lookout's voice rings out across the deck, ships on the horizon. Panic erupts as the crew scrambles to action. They're being pursued, and in the distance, the insignia of the Royal Navy gleams under the moonlight, a stark reminder of the noblewoman they harbor on board. Isabella's family has sent the Navy after her. Elias' face hardens as he realizes the Navy will stop at nothing to reclaim Isabella and bring him and his crew to justice. He issues commands, rallying his crew to prepare for battle, yet his mind is consumed by Isabella's safety. He knows what will happen if the Navy boards his ship. They will kill every last pirate, and Isabella's life will be shattered once more, taken back to her former existence. As cannon fire lights up the night, Elias pulls Isabella aside, urgency and desperation in his voice. "You need to stay hidden," he says, gripping her shoulders tightly. "They'll kill you too if they think you've sided with us." But Isabella shakes her head, her gaze fierce. "I'm not hiding, Elias. I won't run from this." A part of him admires her bravery, yet he cannot let her face the dangers ahead. He argues with her, pleading for her to go below deck, but she stands firm, unwilling to be a passive observer to the chaos around her. The battle is fierce, the deck consumed by smoke and flames as cannonballs tear through the hull. Pirates and naval officers clash in brutal combat, the cries of the wounded filling the air. In the midst of the carnage, Isabella watches Elias fight, a force of nature as he defends his ship and his crew with ruthless efficiency. Her heart aches as she realizes how much he means to her, and she understands that, no matter what happens, her life is forever bound to his. She cannot turn back now. Her fate is entwined with the man who has claimed her heart in ways she never thought possible. Just as the battle seems to reach a stalemate, an explosion rocks the ship, throwing Isabella to the deck. Her vision blurs, and when she looks up, she sees Elias bloodied and struggling to reach her, his eyes filled with desperation. He calls out her name, but his voice is drowned by the chaos. As she reaches for him, her strength waning, she realizes the depth of her feelings. She would rather die here, in the arms of the man she loves, than return to a life devoid of passion and purpose. With a final burst of strength, Elias reaches her, pulling her into his arms as the ship lurches under another blow. "I'm not leaving you," he whispers fiercely, his voice trembling with a mix of fear and love. "No matter what happens, we face it together." Their embrace, amidst the smoke and bloodshed, feels like a moment suspended in time, a fragile piece of hope in a world bent on tearing them apart. As dawn breaks, the remnants of the battle lay scattered across the deck of Tempest's Fury. The Royal Navy has been beaten back, but at a heavy cost. The once proud pirate ship is a shadow of itself, its sails torn, its hull scarred by cannon fire, and its crew bloodied and weary. Elias and Isabella cling to each other amidst the wreckage, united by a love that has weathered its first true test, yet left scarred by the knowledge of what might still come. In the quiet that follows the battle, Elias gathers the surviving crew on deck. They know that the Navy will return, more determined than ever, and that their time is running out. Rumors spread among the crew that Isabella's presence is a curse, a beacon drawing destruction upon them. The men, though loyal to Elias, cast her wary glances, their murmurs filled with resentment and fear. Garrick, the first mate, voices what others are thinking. "Captain, we can't protect her forever. She's one woman, but we're an entire crew. Our lives, our families, they're at risk because of her." Elias feels the weight of their words like a knife to his heart. He knows his duty to his men, knows he owes them safety and freedom. But when he looks at Isabella, standing on the deck with defiance in her eyes, he feels the fierce pull of a love that has reshaped his very soul. She has become his world, and he cannot imagine it without her. Isabella, sensing the tension, steps forward, her voice strong yet gentle. "This is my fight as much as yours," she says, facing the crew with a quiet dignity. "I did not choose this path, but I accept its risks." I will not be the reason for more bloodshed. If it means saving your lives, then let me go." Elias's heart clenches at her words, his mind torn between his responsibility as captain and his love for her. Every instinct urges him to keep her close, to shield her from the world that seeks to tear them apart. Yet he knows that forcing her to stay would only deepen the rift among his men. As much as it pains him, he cannot lead with a divided crew. That night, he makes the hardest decision of his life. He tells her that he will take her to a secluded island where she will be safe from the Navy's reach, and promises that he will return to her once he ensures his crew's safety. They sit together under the stars, speaking in whispers, as if fearing that the night itself would steal away their time together. Each moment is precious, filled with words of love, promises, and the fear of a future unknown. The next morning, the crew sails toward the island under a veil of mist. Isabella stands at the bow, watching the horizon with a mixture of hope and sorrow. She knows that this may be the last time she will see Elias, yet she trusts him, believes in the bond they have forged through fire and storm. When the ship reaches the island, Elias takes her hand, guiding her to the shore. They walk in silence, every step a painful reminder of what they are about to lose. When they finally reach the shore, Elias turns to her, his eyes filled with a fierce determination. "I will come back for you, Isabella. No force on this earth can keep me away." Isabella reaches up, touching his face with trembling hands. "Then I will wait for you, Elias. Until my last breath, I will wait." Their final kiss is a promise, a vow that transcends the life they have known, as waves crash against the shore and seagulls cry above them. And then, with one last lingering look, Elias turns back toward the ship, his heart heavy with every step. Isabella watches him go, the ache of separation already gnawing at her soul, but she stands tall, a figure of quiet strength against the storm. Back on Tempest's fury, Elias's return is met with silence. The crew senses the weight of his decision, the sacrifice he has made, and their loyalty to him is renewed, tempered by the knowledge that their captain has chosen them above all else. They sail away, leaving Isabella alone on the island, her figure growing smaller on the horizon, until she is no more than a memory against the dawn. Months pass, and the legend of the pirate captain and the noblewoman spreads across the seas, whispered in taverns and sung by bards. Some say that Elias was killed in a final battle with the Navy, his ship sinking to the depths of the ocean. Others claim he became a ghost, haunting the waters in search of the woman he loved and lost. Yet, far away on the island, Isabella holds onto hope, watching the horizon every day as the sun rises and falls, believing with all her heart that Elias will return. She carries his memory with her, their love a constant flame that burns within her, unyielding even as the years go by. And one day, as she sits on the shore, the distant outline of a ship appears on the horizon, its sails tattered but proud, its course steady as it draws nearer. She rises, her heart pounding as tears fill her eyes, for she knows that her waiting has not been in vain. Against all odds, Elias has returned, his promise kept. As he steps onto the shore, their eyes meet, and in that single moment, all the years of pain, hope, and longing vanish. They run to each other, their embrace fierce and unbreakable, as if the world itself were finally at peace. They are home together at last, bound not by chains, but by a love that even the vast seas could not drown.